Hello and welcome to our video on astrology forbidden by God for smaller Bushel and bigger Shekel. Okay, now there's different types of astrology, of course, and there's even a Hebrew form of astrology. So what I'm going to talk about has two focuses. And one is how we use Astrology Angel Magick. We use it for angels and also for Goetic demons or spirits, okay? Because demon just means spirit. That's all it means. You could say the Holy Ghost is a holy demon because demon means spirit. The Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, holy demon. That's what it means. And what we want to talk about is how the sun and moon work together when you're using angel magic or demon magic from the Goetia. How the phase of the sun and the phase of the moon work together. Okay, and the zodiac sign that the sun or the moon is in. So it's really about powerful sun and moon phases in astrology, angel magic, or Goetic demonology, that form of magic. So when using astrology, angel magic, or demon magic of the Goetia, because there's day demons in the Goetia and night demons, and there's also solar angels and lunar angels, so day and night angels too. In many forms of when you study different types of angel, orders of angels in different traditions, you'll see that in some of them there are day and night angels. Okay, some of them say that they're masculine and feminine, or good and bad, or benevolent and more strict, or they have different words to describe them, but it's just like yin and yang. With night being always assigned to women and day always being assigned to men and that kind of thing, at least in the West. So there's both for the demons, because they're just spirits, and for the angels, okay? Now, once you get that, it's important to understand how the sun, moon, how they affect one another, how the sun and moon affect one another. And keep in mind that the word Solomon, King Solomon, Sol and moon. Sol is another name for the sun. So, and Luna, another word for the moon. So it's sun and moon when you use the word Sol. Okay? S-O-L. So that's sort of where that comes from. A solar, because the Hebrew calendar is a solar and lunar calendar. Okay? Now, the new moon is a very important thing to talk about, because there are verses in the Bible that are negative against the new moon, very negative against the new moon, and against new moon festivals, even though if you go to like a Hebrew temple, you'll see that they have festivals or they celebrate the new moon, okay, every month. So it's a tradition, and yet in some places of the Bible it speaks against it. I'll give you a couple relevant verses here. The first one I want to give you is in the New American Standard Bible, the 1977 edition, Amos 8:5. When will the new moon be over, so that we may sell grain, and the Sabbath, that we may open the wheat market, to make the bushel smaller and the shekel bigger, okay, and to cheat with dishonest scales. Okay, so this gives you an idea of how the new moon sort of can be thought of. And also, there's another one, the Webster's Bible translation of Isaiah 1:14. Your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hateth. Okay? They are a trouble to me. I am weary to bear them. So understand that these things are in the Bible, okay? Now, why in the world would the people that sort of wrote all of this and came up with all these systems, why would they want to tell you, okay, we celebrate the Sabbath and we celebrate the new moons, but yet to the prophets, and they're considered to be sort of a negative thing, and okay, well, to cheat and make dishonest, to make the shekel bigger and the bushel smaller, these are the real reasons, because it's like, because you have to, on the Sabbath, you're not supposed to work and that kind of thing, okay? But there's more to it than that. There's actually, when you're doing magic, and you're using the systems to do magic, which a lot of people do, okay? you might want to get a book called Tetragrammaton, published by Llewellyn. Okay, that's a very good book, and it talks about the angels, the day and night angels, and some of the magical forms of using them. It's interesting. You might want to get Tetragrammaton. Okay, so anyway, it's published by Llewellyn. At the moment, I can't think of the name of the author, but if I think of it by the end of the presentation, I'll give it to you. But anyway, you can find it, Tetragrammaton, published by Llewellyn. Okay, now, what happens is that when you have a new moon, okay, the new moon is the same astrological, it's in the same astrological sign when the new moon is happening as the sun, whatever sign the sun is in. It's the same. The new moon and the sun are in the same sign of the zodiac, okay? So you're working with the same energy. So it's if you have the new moon and the sun in the sign of, say, Scorpio or something, then they're both going to be at the same time. And therefore, you can use the very powerful new moon for the night angel or the night demon, and the projective sunlight for the day angel or the day demon, okay? And the power of the magic ritual becomes very strong when using the power of the sunlight and the power of the new moon, which is completely sort of concealed, and so it's got a more receptive force, a more absorbing force to it. It's actually a pulling in force, okay? Absorbing it, pulling it in. That's very powerful energy, okay? They say quit the night and seek the day. Why? Because you're not using the full moon, which would have a little bit of a repelling action and be in a different sign than the sun, okay? A repelling action to the sun, not to you necessarily, but it's not the full moon is more of a projective energy. It's reflecting the sun. Yet they're in different signs. The moon and the sun are in different signs during a full moon and during during that kind of thing. Okay, so what you want to understand is that the power of the ritual is going to be different, and you're going to be using it for different purposes. But I wanted you to understand why they say quit the night and seek the day. And I was thinking, why are they hiding these night demons that are so powerful? But they're not really hiding them. They're just, the new moon is the secret. The new moon is such a powerful receptive force because the feminine receptive forces are not talked about and veiled and considered evil or whatnot, and yet they're powerful because when you have the sunlight meaning to move this way and the moon is pulling it this way, and it's not reflecting anything back, and it's in the same sign, you're going to have a powerful ritual. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not necessarily that somebody's trying to hide something. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Who knows? But it's just something I thought was very interesting and fascinating that I thought was important because it gets real specific about, like, new moons are good for healing. Excuse me. Well, they can be used for healing too. But new moons are good for starting new projects and making things begin to happen you plant a seed and then it grows. And the full moon are good for healing. Both can be used for these things in different ways, but basically the new moon good for starting things, and the full moon is very good for sort of projecting a healing energy towards something. Because you're projecting the sunlight that's reflecting off the moon, and that's like the energy of Chokmah, the Sephri of Chokmah in Kabbalah. And it's very beautiful energy, but it's going to be different than the sun. So you use it at a different time. Now you might notice, that the new moon is not hyped with the same vehemence as the full moon, because the sun is in a different zodiac sign and may not be as easy or compatible to use for magical purposes. The astrology correspondences are there whether the magician knows it or not. Okay? The night angel or demon, the night demon of the same or different zodiac sign will activate the day angel or day demon because of the irresistible attracting force of the new moon. And during a full moon, the sun will be in a different sign. And again, in the same sign when using the new moon. Okay, so just keep that in mind. When using a day demon, it's the same sign. So you can use a day and night demon, on a new moon, and the same sign. And the Goetia lists the signs, And you can also, you can use the Goetia, the night demon on a full moon, which is what I've been into. Or you can use a day demon for the sun when the sun's in a sign, or a full moon too, if you understand that the moon is reflecting the sunlight. Okay, so the night demon is good during a new moon. It's really powerful because but it's a different kind of power. It's a receptive or a pulling in power. It's different. Now, during a full moon, the sun again will be in a different sign. Okay, and then again, it'd be the same sign during a new moon. That's the main thing to consider. Now, this is why the Bible does not really want you to learn about or have any knowledge of astrology, so that the highest level of power can, can use this knowledge through the media to control and rule over the ignorant populace, because Solomon's magic is very powerful. Solomon was a mighty king and a mighty magician. Okay? And King Solomon, to say he's the most wise. But Solomonic magic is a beautiful thing, and there's a greater key of Solomon and there's a lesser key of Solomon. I have both. And a lot of the people that are into more of godliness, or talking about, people that are more into being like, want to do the work of God, maybe more in organized, maybe towards Christian religions, they want to utilize more the greater key of Solomon, okay? And then you have other people that want to use the lesser key of Solomon. And some people use both. Some people use, like, there's things in the greater key of Solomon you can use to make holy water. Okay, secrets in there. Okay, to make holy water, the greater key of Solomon. And if you really want to know a secret, understand that when you're climbing up levels in Kabbalah, you got to understand it's been inverted. The roots are on the top. The top of the tree is roots in Kabbalah. You're climbing towards the roots. Okay? It's roots and branches, and that all comes from Chinese astrology and Chinese feng shui. Is the origin of that. So if you study Chinese astrology and Chinese feng shui, you can understand it. It's more easy to understand if you study it that way. And in Kabbalah, in that system, they talk more about the, really about the root of everything. But understand that everything's turned upside down, because the spiritual realm is exactly the opposite of the spiritual realm. And it's also taught in Kabbalah that and it's true, when you are in a physical feminine body, you're in the highest levels, and we go up to 4 worlds, you're masculine in that level. And if you're in a masculine body here, you're in a feminine body in the highest world, in the 4 worlds. So it changes, like, because there's a world right up, there's a world of action, the world right above that one, Yetzirah and Bria and Absolute. Okay, so Asaya is the lowest world. Then there's above that Yetzirah. You can study the Sefer Yetzirah, and then above that is Bria, and then above that's archetypes, and above that is the world where it's just the energy, and it's absolute, and that's the highest world where you're going to be. You're going to be in Bria the same as you are in Asaya, as far as your gender goes. Okay, but in the world of Yetzirah and absolute, you're going to be the opposite gender. But those are not physical bodies. Those are different. Because in the archetypical world, you're the same as you are in the physical world. But in the formation world and in the world of spirit, you're in the opposite. So it's like a checkers. It's like absolute. Absolute's on the top. You have Asaya. You're going to be feminine. If I'm feminine now, my physical body, and then in Yetzirah, I'm going to be masculine in the formation, and then in the Bria, in the archetype, I'm going to be feminine. And then in the absolute, I'm going to be masculine again. So the God force in Kabbalah, the God force runs through the female body. Okay? Like the body of Venus. Okay? And the goddess force runs through Mars. Because they say, the feminine force is very about, it's very restrictive or disciplined and about war, and the masculine force is about, freedom and freedom of emotion and freedom of the mind and thought. And that sounds the opposite of how it is in the world, because the God energy runs through the feminine body and the goddess energy runs through the masculine body. Because in the brain, this side of your brain controls this side of your body, and this side of your brain controls this side of your body. And this side of your brain controls this half of each eye, and this side of the brain controls this half of each eye, of your eyes. So that's the physical correlation to that. All right, so this is all very, it's very, it's a lot of information that makes you joyful to learn, okay? Because it makes it easier to understand how the universe is set up and how to understand some of the things that you read. And you can be a Christian and you can study magic, okay? You can be a Muslim and you can study magic. Muslims have very powerful magic, and a lot of people like to study it because it's very powerful, okay? And the Hebrews have a very powerful magic too. Now, there's some people that say that you shouldn't be studying the magic of these systems, but I find it to bring me great joy. I find it to be intriguing for my mind, and I feel like I understand myself and others better and the world better when I study these things. And I'm very, I'm always very mindful when I use these things, and I don't use them in ways that are going to harm myself or others. That's not my intention. But anything can be used for good or evil. So it's just a tool, and you can use any spirit or any energy or any system for good or evil. It hasn't been my goal to use it for evil. It's been my goal to use it for my own understanding, and I like to teach it. I have used it, and I've tried to teach it and use it for good. One time I used it for defense and it worked, and I got scared and I stopped. Because it can harm somebody, so I stopped it before it harmed them too badly, and then I lifted it so it wouldn't harm them anymore, because I was defending myself against somebody attacking me. But anyway, that's that story. I did try it out once in a defensive mode, and that was the last time I did that, because it made me feel bad. Okay, it made me actually feel it made me feel nauseous. I just couldn't stand what it did. But it let me understand that part of me, a need to defend, and then I lifted that, and then he was healed and everything was fine. It was a very long time ago. And since then, after that, I never used it in that way again. I tried to protect myself and stay out of those kind of situations, or approach it in a different manner. So anyway, this is how this stuff goes. And sometimes you just, okay to be honest. And I've studied Satanism, and I've studied, I've been to Bible college. I've read the Bible front to back, Old and New Testaments, front to back, every word of it 3 times, 3 times. I've learned some of the Greek, some of the Hebrew, but I read it in English, but I did learn some of the, words and the meanings in those other languages. And the Hebrew letters, of course, are important in magic. And I've studied Wicca, of course. I've studied a lot of different types of magic, and I've always tried, the more you learn it, the more they tell you to be very disciplined and use it for good. And that's good. It's good. It's a good way to approach it. Now, some people who don't want to do that, that's okay. If that's an energy that they can, that they're okay with, that's fine. It's like there's different animals on this planet and in the universe. There's different creatures. Some creatures are comfortable with more vicious energies, and some aren't, So, we all have a viciousness within us. I have a viciousness within me. But, I always, maybe because of where I was brought up, I feel bad when it comes out too strongly. But if I do it properly, when I sublimate it and I use it, like when I use the law to protect myself, even if I have to use the law strictly and make the person stop by making the law stop them for me, that's okay, because that's using the law, and then I don't feel bad about it. So using the law, learning the law and using it properly to defend yourself and your family and your property is a very good way to do this. And that's okay. Defending yourself, your property, your family, legally, is a very good way to utilize these energies. And then you can have your vicious energy, but you use it in a legal and moral and ethical way to defend the property and the people that you are in charge of. Okay? So that's one way of looking at it. All right? So anyway, as we're going into, right now there's a lot of wars and things going on, and the energy is getting slightly harsher. And what we want to do is try to balance ourselves, try to, on the tree of life, you know, there's the severe tree and there's a merciful tree, and we don't want to wax too Geburic or wax, you know, too chesedic. We don't want to have too much mercy or too much severity. We want to be in the middle and balance ourselves so we can stay in physical form. Because in one of those two sides, you can't really be in physical form. You can't maintain it. You got to be in the middle. You got to balance it if you want to stay alive. Okay? And it starts within yourself. To be responsible, be ethical, be legal. Okay? And pay attention and stay calm. And everything's unfolding as it should. And studying Chinese astrology has helped me a lot because you know what kind of year's coming up. Okay? So it's very interesting. It helps when you're studying Kabbalah, it helps to study the Chinese astrology and feng shui because it's where it's from. Even Christianity, because most of that's just from Lao Tzu and you know, it's from a lot of the ancient Chinese wisdom. A lot of what Jesus said is from ancient Chinese wisdom. All right. So thanks for joining us, and join us again next time.